Good evening, welcome to Hi-Fi in the Low Light. Tonight we're going to take a look at the JDS Labs LDAC. To start with, I want to thank them for allowing me to have a chance to demo the product in-home before purchase. I originally reached out to them because I needed a DAC for my newly acquired speaker system. I decided that since I was trying it for myself, it would be a perfect time to do a review. To start with, most of JDS Labs products feature this black on black styling, this black on black design, and I appreciate it. It's built well, everything is solid, there's no creaking, there's no movement, it works. I want to show you guys just how easy it is. Everything snaps into place. Good feel. A little bit of wiggle and they come out. The coaxial is the same. This is a digital RCA input. Just works. Now, what is unique is some people will complain that there's no power button, but it does have a single button. I'm going to plug it in, show you how that button works and just how easy it is to switch between the inputs and power it off. Press and you're on. Tap it, switches between. Yellow is, of course, coaxial. Blue for USB. Now, if USB is not inputting, it will not stay there, but that's it. Simply press. When you're done, press and hold, and it's off. It is just that easy. I like a power button because it's familiar, but this is so much easier. There's not a bunch of switches for switching it. It's a press. Just one press and you're done. Functionally, the drivers were very easy to install. I found them on the website quickly. They had both Windows 10 and Windows 8 compatible versions. As far as the different inputs, coaxial SPDIF does not require a driver. Optical input also does not require a driver. It's only USB. And the USB driver, again, easy to install. Gave me the option for direct sound or ASIO. I did use FooBar in my Windows 8 laptop to get the drivers installed. Again, it was seamless. The driver does have its own interface. I also found that the drivers were very friendly. They were very cohabitating. They cohabitated well, which meant I could switch from ASIO to the LDAC to using USB direct into my Behringer UCA 202. I could switch between inputs digitally right from FooBar, and the drivers would know. The Behringer, of course, is class 1, so there is no driver other than what Windows has. But sometimes you'll get a driver that doesn't play well. As soon as you switch to something else, it gets finicky, or that's been my experience. With the LDAC, that wasn't the case. I installed it, I plugged it in, I switched to USB. USB knows that it's there, I'm up and running, and I'm ready to go. In terms of sound quality, there is a difference. I did find that optical performed sufficiently. Optical from my iRiver H140 is metallic because that device processes the audio before the LDAC does. Optical from my LG Smart TV into the LDAC was more natural, a bit more nuanced. Good. It's not as nice as doing USB from my PC or coaxial from the PC, but for movies, for the speakers for TV, again, it was phenomenal. A huge step forward than using the analog output of that television. Going next, USB is just a bit more nuanced. It featured some blackness, a little bit less noise than optical input did, and a little bit more spacious of an image. Finally, coaxial SPDIF was, in my opinion, the blackest, the most resolved. This is where the product went from what I expect from a $250 DAC to just extremely impressive. Going to coaxial really brought it to that next level, in my opinion. What I like about that is it presents a clear upgrade path for ownership. I recently switched from USB to coaxial input in my own system, and many of the DACs that I've tried, including things like the Chord Hugo, my very own Audio GD DAC, and the LDAC, all saw improvements when I switched from USB to coaxial. So most of you are going to start with USB, and when you're ready to upgrade, I would encourage you to spend the money to get a USB to coaxial converter and take advantage of what is a quieter, most of the time a blacker interface. Now, what you guys are really wondering though is how does it sound? I touched a little bit on how impressive it was with coaxial, and that being said, I did all of my impressions to my own equipment from that input. Simply put, the the LDAC is balanced. It has clarity with just a touch of warmth. A lot of the entry-level digital audio players that I featured on my channel have a personality. My 601 is organic, it's natural. The Shandling M2S has warmth with an openness, with a spaciousness. The Cayenne N3 was snappy, it was detailed, it was precise. These personalities are present no matter what amp you plug those equipment into, or plug those digital audio players into. Even as a PC DAC, those digital audio players have the personality. What differentiates is the LDAC does not. It doesn't matter what I amp it with. There is a clarity, and there is a touch of warmth. There's not really a smoothening, there's not a hardening. It's just very straightforward, good, spacious. This is what we want from a DAC, is to be practically invisible. Even my own NFB10 ES2 has a personality that is present. Some of you will find that a lack of personality may not impress you, it may not wow you, it's also not going to disappoint you. For a DAC to just be straightforward is what you want, because anytime that you plug it into something else, it doesn't bring anything to the table. Now, when you get into the $3, $4, the $2, the $1,000 range, personalities start to become more important. The Hugo, for example, is phenomenally natural. There's a naturalness that it imparts to whatever you plug it into. So for me, I have a lot of amps that are colder and more precise. When I have a natural DAC to feed it with, it's a good sound. But not always. There are some times when the Hugo wasn't my favorite. My own NFB10 ES2 has a quickness, has a precision that I like. I pair it with my hybrid tube to give a bit of balance. But it has a personality. There's some systems that I need. There are some headphones that I don't like using the NFB10 ES2 with because it's too bright. So those are headphones that I like from my portable gear a little bit better. They're not super resolving and there's no reason to plug it into it. But the whole point is I have to pair, I have to think about, well, is this the best? Is this not the best? That's the point. I have to mix, I have to match. There's a great benefit from doing that, but it takes work. When you're just starting out, maybe you have a digital audio player that you're using as a DAC and an amp and you're ready to upgrade, the LDAC is simple. Installation is simple. USB performance is on point. There is not a personality to have to think about with this DAC. There is just solid performance, good, crystal clear sound with a touch of warmth. Moving forward, guys, I am going to talk a little bit about how it paired with my different amplifiers and the qualities that it does bring, because it's practically invisible. There is a touch of warmth there, and I want to get into that. Again, I mentioned that there was a touch of warmth that the LDAC brings. I didn't find this to be apparent until I started listening to my different amplifiers, my different systems, with my Sennheiser HD800. It is new to my collection, and I did purchase it because it is a reference, and it is resolving enough to help me pick out those kinds of details. With some of my mid-range headphones, such as my Nahord, my Grado style headphones, my Lipson G1, my Audio Technicas, my ES10, even lesser stuff like the ATH M40X. With these headphones, when I would switch from my reference system to the LDAC, the biggest difference was the resolve. There was a lack of resolve, or there was not as much detail, not as much precision. And let's start with that. When I compare the LDAC to a reference system, it is not as resolving. There is a little bit less resolve, a little bit less detail, a little bit less transient information, a lack of precision. But these are systems, multiple components that I have built explicitly for digital audio conversion. Now, when I switched to the HD800, I noticed not only a little bit less resolve, but a touch of warmth from the LDAC. So not to say that the mid-range on it is forward, but it does add a little bit of decay in the mid-range. Now this touch of warmth, I don't describe it as personality because it is minimal. It is non-invasive. It is not enough to detriment. It's nice. It's just a little touch of warmth. Now when I compare the LDAC to something closer in price to it, such as the Light Harmonic Lab Geek Out V2 Plus. The Geek Out V2 Plus is a $500 portable DAC amp combination unit. So let's assume that if you chopped the cost in half and just bought the DAC, it would cost $250. It's not entirely the case, but to simplify things, we'll go with it. So when I compare the LDAC to that product, I did use coaxial input and I did use my head amp Pico Power as the amplifier to pair with the LDAC. When I compared the two of them, that is where things were more impressive. That is where the LDAC took just that little bit of edge. In comparison, the Geek Out V2 Plus had a hardness or an unnatural presentation to the timbre. Now it did have a little bit more detail and did have just a smidge more precision, but the sound, the tonal balance was slightly off. Moving over to the LDAC, the resolve was very much there, the imaging was very much there, but more importantly, there was a correctness, there was a properness to the sound. Yes, you could get the light harmonics Geek Out V2 and have a DAC that is slightly more resolving. And I mean just ever so slightly more resolving, but the timbre is always going to kind of be a distraction. I own it, not because it sounds weird, but because for a portable, it's phenomenal, and I have specific headphones that I pair it with that make the tonal balance really on point. Again, using the HC800 as a reference, the LDAC brings the touch of warmth, but it has a more natural presentation, a more correct timbre when I compare it to the Geek Out V2 Plus. Compare it to my HM601, to my Behringer 202, to my Hi-Fiman HM601 digital audio player, it is better. Even with USB, it is better. And then with coaxial, it is just so much ahead. The level of resolve is obvious. The increase in spaciousness is obvious. Now, I don't mean left or right, I mean depth. With my Behringer 202, with my channeling M2S, there is a lack of depth. Things that should be behind sound a little bit below. The 601 doesn't have as much of a problem with that, but it's very cramped. When I upgrade to the LDAC, when I go from those entry-level products to the LDAC, it opens up. There's a sense of definition and precision. There's a touch of warmth, a little bit of extra decay in the mid-range that really adds clarity with warmth, is how I describe it. It is a pleasure to listen to. So for you guys at home wondering whether or not you should purchase it, wondering what you should purchase, should you save up for a $1,000 system or should you be content with what you have? I would always, of course, encourage you to upgrade, because for me, the upgrade is always interesting. I always like hearing that extra bit of detail. But now here's what I love about the LDAC. If you don't have a reference system, if you only have something entry level like the Behringer 202 or a digital audio player that will double as a DAC, or even like a basic $100 DAC, I do feel that the LDAC is a step up from these, and I feel that it is enough of an improvement to merit not having to purchase anything else. This is a digital audio converter that has the same level of performance as the Hi-Fiman HE4XX. It is phenomenal. It is one and done. Get it, stash it, on your desk, and keep it. Never upgrade again, because it is very good. I use it as a secondary to my reference system. And when I switch from my desk, my office, from my reference to this secondary system, it is satisfying, it is enjoyable, it is pleasurable. So that brings us to the other side of the conversation. If you already have a reference system, the LDAC is going to be a product that you definitely want to consider for a sound system. That's how I use it. I use it as a supplement. I have my studio monitors, my JBL LSR 308s hooked into the LDAC. I have my TV feeding into the LDAC. If I need to do something with my laptop, I take it out of the office and into my living space, into the media room, so I can listen with the speakers. And again, the LDAC is my interface, is what I use to get sound from the laptop, and I love it. I am very impressed with the quality of the product. As always, guys, I want to thank you for watching. Leave your questions and comments below. I want to thank JDS Labs for allowing me the chance to demo this and review this in my own home. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, and have a good night.